Welcome, folks, to the My Black Diabetes Meal Plan podcast. I am joined for our final interview with Dr. Joel Fuhrman, world-renowned physician. My name is Dr. Sean Smith. Our goal in this podcast has been and will continue to be to get the facts clear on type 2 diabetes so that living with it is completely optional. If you love this type of content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to it. Dr. Fuhrman, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thanks.
Perfect. You know, I like to leave people with a look into how your mind works and how you actually think about food, but do it in a visual way. And so we'll build a food pyramid live today that people will be able to take home with them for free. And so before we jump into all of that, we've got questions from viewers. We'll handle some of those at the end. Immediately, Doc, my first question for you today is taking a look at this. This is the standard American, the recommended food pyramid that's recommended to Americans. And on first glance, I'm wondering what you think about this. What is it? What's missing from this pyramid? And how does it hurt people who are fighting and dealing with type 2?
It's a deadly pyramid, really. Look, they put bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. They put, diabetes-causing carbohydrates, high glycemic carbohydrates in the base of the pyramid. And then, of course, the majority of calories in the American diet come from a combination of processed foods, which consist mostly of white flour products that come from white flour and sugar and oils, which are not food, they're drugs. And white flour is a drug, not a food. And that's the base of the pyramid. So the base of the pyramid is drugs, which leads people to take drugs. So we've made for white flour is an addictive drug-like substance, like cocaine is. And white flour is a sugar equivalent. And it drives disease and creates the need to take medications. And also the food addiction leads to drug addiction. But in any case, we're a vegetable-dependent animal, and we're a major fruits for all primates are vegetables and fruits, which has above the carbohydrate group right there, they have vegetables up there and fruit up there. If they cut the whole bottom off the pyramid and started out with a vegetable and fruit and beans, of course, they combine beans and nuts with meat, poultry, and fish up there. Mm-hmm. And we have more than 100 studies showing that when people switch from animal products to high-protein plants, like beans and nuts they're in the protein group, of course, with animal products, but the most consistent and powerful finding of the nutritional research studies of the last decade is that when people switch from animal protein to more plant protein from beans and nuts, they dramatically extend lifespan, lowering both cancer risk and cardiovascular risk. The most fascinating finding is that nuts even have beans and nuts have more protective effects against cancer and heart attacks even than the vegetables did in some of these studies. It was just incredible. Yeah. But in any case, we're saying here that fruits and vegetables, beans and nuts should be the major sources of what we eat, but you don't eat as much. And then we have carbohydrate. Where are the carbohydrate containing vegetables? The higher carb vegetables like carrots, squashes, corn, peas, beets. And that should be up there at the top of the higher pyramid with nuts. So nuts and on the higher carbohydrate, including grains, like the good grains like quinoa and teff and amaranth and kamut and, the whole grains, the intact grains, people can have some of those and they're limited quantity and nuts are more limited because you're not going to eat like a whole giant bowl of nuts, like a bowl of salad. There's more calorically rich. So you just think that the nuts and the grains are the higher the carbohydrates, the good carbohydrates, the whole food carbohydrates, and nuts would be at the top of the pyramid. The base of the pyramid would be vegetables, and then above that base would be fruits. So vegetables, fruits, nuts, and then the grains vegetables at the base, then beans and fruit, because beans are really superfoods that are lower glycemic. So beans and fruit would be good right there. Vegetables maybe at the base, then beans and fruit, then maybe the whole grains and the nuts right above that, and of course the rest of the pyramid, the animal products and stuff like that could be in the use sparingly or special occasion or a special treat section. Okay. See, at least at this pyramid, it says fats, oils, and sweets used sparingly. Well, obviously, it's better not to have any self-destructive behavior. Why be your own worst enemies? But but animal products should be mixed in that use sparingly or hardly ever group, you know.
If someone
And we know, of course, that more data showing milk, yogurt, cheese, that group leads to breast cancer and prostate cancer in men. Even more study came out this month showing a link between dairy and prostate cancer in men, you know.
Wow. If someone with type 2 were to follow this and they said, okay, I've been recommended this, I'm just going to follow and finally eat healthy. I'm just going to follow this this pyramid that we're seeing on the screen in front of us. What would happen? Would they be able to control glucose levels, and would they be able to remove excess body fat?
No, this is by this diet that conventional people are eating, a standard American diet leads to almost everybody in America becoming overweight. And of course, when you're overweight and insulin resistant and producing extra insulin, the extra insulin, which is a fat storage hormone that promotes angiogenesis and allows cancer cells to replicate, also accelerates atherosclerosis. The excess insulin promotes the development of heart disease even before the person becomes diabetic. The first step to becoming diabetic is you gain weight and you produce extra insulin. And I'm saying the damage starts to occur then. It doesn't occur when the glucose starts to rise. It already was occurring at a faster rate before the glucose started to rise. When the pancreas starts to poop out and can't produce all the insulin, the glucose starts to rise. You may have accelerating damage, but the damage it's continuing on a continuum. It doesn't suddenly spike up when the person becomes diabetic. I'm saying almost all overweight people are pre-diabetic because they have excess circulating insulin, even if their sugars are perfectly normal. Even a perfectly normal sugar, a perfectly normal hemoglobin A1C, I'm considering those people still pre-diabetic because the excess insulin they have circulating. And these type of diets drive extra body fat and insulin because don't forget that it's not just the higher glucose in the bloodstream, it's the higher glucose in the bloodstream in combination with all those animal products and oils. Because the animal products and oils, for example, the animal fats distort the insulin receptor and make it not work. Saturated fat is more damaging to the function of insulin receptors. And most of the fat in the American diet comes from animal fats and oils, not from nuts and seeds, which are a horse of a different color. So when you're saying, well, where does Americans get their fat? They get their fat from oils and animal products, which then further damage insulin reception. It's like the TV, you can't get the TV reception, your TV, to get a good channel because you're damaging by all these electronic waves interfering with the signal on your antenna on your roof. It's the same thing. You can't. So if you switch your fat intake from oil and animal products to nuts and seeds, then the insulin receptor starts to work more normally. So then so body fat plays a role, but also what you eat plays a role too. Yeah. So this diet is not just leading to people becoming overweight, it's also damaging their insulin receptors.
Now, Doc, I can hear my food pyramid warrior saying, hey, you've made a great point about meat, but look, it's only 2 to 3 servings a day. Really what we want to be doing is staying down here on the bread, cereal, rice, and pasta group. We got to have 6 to 11 servings of that on a daily basis. So, why not? How does this food pyramid, not people who are going to McDonald's, not people who are going to Burger King, but people who are eating this, they're having their 3 to 5 servings of vegetables a day, 2 to 4 servings of fruit, but they're making sure they get that bread and cereal in there too, because that looks pretty healthy and it looks like the base upon which their entire dietary plan is made.
Right. Bread, cereal, rice, and pasta, which in this country and most of the modern countries is right. The rice is white rice, and the bread is white bread. So if the bread was like a sprouted bread, but even whole wheat bread is still glycemically unfavorable because they grind the flour into like a pastry, like talcum powder. It's so highly ground, but you can get some Ezekiel or breads, or some breads that are made from sprouted grains that are not as glycemically unfavorable, but still, we know that bread is not the foundational food for a primate. Vegetables are the foundational food for a primate. And when you cook bread into crackers and bagels and pizzas and burgers and Italian bread and buns and make it into, it's mostly just junk food. So it should be, if you occasionally had some whole grain bread occasionally, but not basic. You know, it shouldn't even the healthy bread shouldn't be the base of your diet, but certainly not the breads and pastas and rices most people are eating. That's just junk food. And what's the difference between eating white bread and eating a piece of candy? Why not put candy at the base of the pyramid? Why not put cotton candy or or corn? What are those little corn things? Those
Oh, the candy corns.
candy corns, what people eat, yeah, or the things they get at these whatever. Why not put chocolate chip cookies or cake down there? Because it's just cake. There's no biological difference between eating white bread and eating a piece of cake. It's all cake. It's a cake diet, you know. But anyway, so you can't. People have to see that pizza and pasta and white rice and white bread is not food. It's a drug. It's cake. And you're eating candy and cake and thinking that's going to sustain you. Because the body doesn't differentiate glucose coming from white bread and glucose coming from a sugar cube or honey. It's all the same thing to the body. It's just glucose. It has to do with the amount you ate. So you put it in from white bread, your body just checks out, you're eating candy.
Yeah.
And then you try to turn that candy into energy and it can't do it because there's no cofactors and it's damaging. It's damaging. And then of course it's driven to into fat storage because you can't put it into energy efficiently.
This next part, which is where we reconstruct the food pyramid the way that it really ought to be. And so I've got like these little pockets here where I'm saying daily servings. And so that'll be the place where we maybe just do some recommendations in terms of daily servings, but you'll see right on the side here that I've got some greens, some onions, some mushrooms, some beans, our seeds here. We've got our berries here. So the gene bombs are accounted for, but then we've also got the vegetable oils, and a question from a user is going to come up about that later. So we'll keep that in mind. But then we've also have our red meat, chicken, that sort of thing, and then fish for people who, would rather prefer a pescatarian lifestyle. And so if we could just move some of these into place here, which one would go on the base?
Well, the base would be not just green vegetables, but all types of vegetables, because greens alone don't give you enough calories. You can't sustain a diet with enough calories only with greens.
Okay.
You have to put other types of vegetables down at that base. But you could, if you put, let's say if we put down green, we could put all vegetables of all color, which include, tomatoes and onions, but also could include things like squash, peas, carrots, beets. The question is, we can put the green vegetables at the base by volume, but then right above it, you have to put some other starch, more calorically dense vegetables. So why don't we put the vegetables that are lower glycemic at the base, like greens, tomatoes, cauliflower, eggplant, zucchini, even peas we could put down there because they're so rich in nutrients. But in any case, eggplant, mushrooms, peas, zucchini, cauliflower, peppers, tomatoes, things we really want to try to eat as much as we can. And all types of cooked greens like broccoli and cabbages, broccoli, cabbage, and different things. Any kind of green vegetable we can get our hands on, we're going to eat as much as we can. Snow pea pods,
Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, how many servings of that a day would you say?
The more the better. So let's say, we know that there's no threshold effect. That if we look at even green vegetable consumption, when people go from 2 cups a day to 4 cups, we even see more increased longevity. So we're talking about of those kinds of vegetables, maybe let's say more than 5 cups a day.
So you say 5+ cups
a day, yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And so, folks, you now know what to build your food plan off of, right? We're going to base it off of veggies of all colors: eggplants, peas, zucchinis, of course, greens, cauliflower, peppers, tomatoes, cabbage, 5 cups a day. Wonderful. Okay. What would go above?
To the left would go beans of all types.
Okay. So
and you're probably shooting for the beans to try to get a cup of beans in a day, like half a cup to a cup, or at least depending on the person, what kind of big person they are, athlete, could be more than that, obviously, but at least a half a cup, but shooting more for a cup probably.
Okay.
The big athletic guy could be more, 2 or 3 cups of beans, or more. But so let's pay, and then on the right side would be, so let's say a cup of beans. On the other side, we're getting a cup of a more starchy vegetable like carrots and beets and
Okay.
what are some squashes like butternut squash or winter squash or sweet potato. Like in that daily serving on that side, we're going to have a cup of starch or grain, or quinoa or kamut or teft or amaranth. So a cup of like a higher carbohydrate starch or higher carbohydrate vegetable, or even a root vegetable, or a starchy vegetable like butternut or acorn squash, winter squash, carrots, beets. I love, carrots and beets are super healthy. And, both raw and cooked. Of course, that raw, when you eat the same thing raw, it's better for diabetes than cooked because you lower the glycemic effect of the raw carrot and the raw beet and the raw jicama and the raw, kohlrabi, whatever, But anyway, so a serving of starch like quinoa, carrots, beets, and let's say other whole intact grains. And it could also be something like steel cut oatmeal or something,
Mm. Or
Yeah.
it's perfect.
And the cup of beans on the left should include soybeans, like things like tofu and tempeh and black beans and bean burgers and, and red kidney beans and lentils and chickpeas and tahini and hummus and stuff like that, So we just want to include soybeans there because soybeans are very high in protein and super healthy for you, especially edamame and tempeh and the dried soybeans make chilies out of, That's good.
Cool.
And then above that would be fresh fruit of all types. Even though we like berries and we want people to include, like at least maybe a cup of berries, a pomegranate, or cherries a day, that's just one serving, one cup. But there's more. They can have 3 to 5 servings of fruit a day if they're diabetic still, looking to lose weight. Some of us who are athletes and thin are having even more than that, but 3 to 5 servings of fresh fruit.
You say servings of fruit, but you mean like a whole fruit, 3 to 5 pieces of fruit?
3 to 5 medium pieces of fruit, or a serving of berries is a cup.
Okay. So that's great.
And then on the right side of the fruit, that's the left side. The right side would be nuts and seeds. And a person's having minimum of 1.5 ounces if you're overweight looking to lose weight, but it could be, if you're an athletic person, could be 4 to 6 ounces. But I eat usually about 2 to 3 ounces of nuts and seeds a day, but most of the overweight people eat 1.5 ounces for a woman and like 2 ounces for a male. So you could say 1.5 to 4 ounces based on your body weight and caloric needs of nuts and seeds right there. But 1.5 ounces for an overweight person, because we don't want to give them, because we're just restricting it for caloric reasons. You can eat more if you had stopped that. If you had less starch, you could have a little more nuts. Nuts and seeds are 175 calories an ounce. If you took out 175 calories of something else, you still got the mushrooms hanging there at the top over there. That should be down there at the base of the pyramid. Push those mushrooms down there in the base, and put the onions down there in the base of the pyramid. We want people to have it like at least at least a quarter cup of mushrooms and a half a cup of onion each day down there in the base of the pyramid, mixed into all those vegetables you're eating.
Ooh, okay. Okay, very good. This is looking good. This is looking good. We're packing a lot of information into a tight place. But what do we do with the vegetable oil and the fish here?
You push it at the top of the thing. You say only for special occasions or for parties or for birthdays or, but I don't even like that stuff to do. Well, I don't say, well, I have to do it at all. But if you're putting it anywhere on the pyramid, you got to put it in this special occasion use or rare use. It's like, you say, when is a person supposed to be drinking alcohol? Either they're not supposed to be drinking alcohol, but they did it, at a celebration once a month. It wouldn't be a big deal if they just had a little bit. So here it's the same thing. If even had a little bit of animal product once a month. The only problem comes in when a person has a little bit of alcohol or a little bit of meat or a little bit of this stuff, and it drives them to want to have more, and then they start binging for a week on that stuff. So if you're an addict, you're better off staying away from these things that trigger you. But a person can have them on a vacation or something like that, or go out to dinner once a month or something. I don't know. You can put it occasional use up there,
Yeah, I'll put special occasions.
Right.
Okay, so with the vegetable oil and I don't know what else you would put in here, maybe cookies.
And then obviously fish would be a better choice than red meat, but even fish, because of the pollution of the oceans and this stuff, have been shown to. There was a recent study came out last week showing the relationship between fish and melanoma and skin cancer because of the toxins in fish. You're much better off using, taking a DHA for your fish oil, and then not eating the fish for those beneficial fats and staying away from fish as much as, and keeping that in the special occasion category as well. Of course, we know red meat and processed meats are more cancer causing than fish, but even fish is not comparable to beans and nuts as a source of protein. Beans and nuts are a source of protein, are a better choice than fish,
So when do we have red meat? And by the way, we can delete this off entirely.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if you're a healthy person, you want to go away to a vacation or something as a treat and have red meat once a month or something. I don't mind people doing that if they had a piece of it once a month as a treat,
Sure. Okay. So I got you. Special occasions. We're in the once. This is really the kind of once a month,
Right.
So that's fine. I'm not even going to put that in the actual pyramid, but if it needed to be, it would be right here at the top where it's the smallest. And so
right, you're right. You're telling, when you make a pyramid, the top is like things you would avoid or special occasions, or you're trying to stay away from in the real top of the pyramid. You know what I mean?
Right. But this gives people a visual understanding of how to reason through the principles, because, and I'll let you explain this. What does this pyramid do that this pyramid does not do?
Well, first of all, there's no things that are going to flood glucose into your bloodstream, because all the carbohydrates are going to be slowly fed into the bloodstream. And then the lack of all the saturated fats in animal products keep the insulin receptors working well. So and it's going to reduce body fat. And it's also going to, it's so high in fiber and so high in bulk, it's going to make you satiated with fewer calories. You're going to be satisfied with eating less food. So now you're going to be satisfied with, 1,600 calories a day, like even 400 to 500 calories at a meal. You're kind of full and you feel like you had enough food. When you're eating burgers and fries and oils and meat, you can take in 1,000 calories in a meal and not even feel like you could not even still feel hungry even, So you're satisfied by the volume and by the nutrients, and the fact that those nutrients that satisfy the apostat don't all even get absorbed into the bloodstream. Like when you're eating nuts, you just took in 300 calories from nuts. Let's say you took in 2 ounces of nuts. That's 350 calories. That's a lot of calories, but they don't come into the bloodstream. A lot of them pass through you into the toilet bowl. When you take an oil, it all comes into the bloodstream and it gets stored as fat within 5 minutes. And because the nuts and seeds have the fats coming into the bloodstream so slowly, the body can preferentially burn them for energy as opposed to storing them for fat. So the nuts and seeds are burned for energy. The oil you take in is stored as fat. When you eat your carbohydrates from carrots and beets and cauliflower, the carbohydrates come in slowly for energy and you burn them for energy as opposed to storing them for fat. When you take in white flour and sugar and honey and maple syrup, your body can't convert it into energy because there's no cofactors and phytochemicals. So its body has to store it as fat. And you're left fatigued and desiring more calories because you just stored it as fat and you didn't produce enough energy. So you need more food to make to bring your energy up.
Right. So Dr. Fuhrman has just explained this to you in a very scientific way. I'm just going to say that this one is the one that reverses diabetes, and this one is the one that makes diabetes worse, right? And so, that's kind of the simple way that I can say it, even though Dr. Fuhrman, you've said it in such a wonderful way for people to really understand the nutrition science here. And so I know we're out of time, but if we could, I've got some questions that I'd like to ask from the viewers who basically are asking about meal replacements. They've been asking, I've got Daryl Horner here who's saying, Dr. Walter Willett of Harvard has a food pyramid. On the second level beside the whole grains, he has vegetable oils. In fact, he has vegetable oils ahead of fruits and vegetables as a matter of importance for health. How important are vegetable oils in relationship to vegetables and fruits? I think you've just alluded to this, but just for Daryl here, how would you say that quickly for him?
Well, You know, a lot of these people, even Walter Willett, they're appealing to the way the Americans are presently eating. And they're making modifications to move them, tweak them in a little direction to stop them eating so much animal fat and have them substitute some vegetable oil like olive oil in place of animal fat, which shows an advantage. There's an advantage because animal fats are worse. But we don't buy a car by comparing it to a junkyard wreck. And oils are fattening and promote diabetes. And there's no nutritional scientist in the world, including Walter Willett, who would disagree that nuts and seeds are a better source of fat than the oils are. That the olive is a better source of fat than the olive oil. The walnut's a better source than the walnut oil. Every nutritional scientist in the world would recognize it's better. They'll just say, well, people aren't going to give up. You know, I was in medical school, they'd say, well, people aren't going to give up all that stuff. I'm saying, you know, but you want to lie to people and tell them what's good just because you think they won't give it up? And that's totally false. They have no experience in practicing nutrition as a therapy for people, saying what they will and will not do. You show them how to make these foods taste good using the best quality ingredients, and they love them, and the disease melts away. These doctors are sabotaging people's wellness because they can make more money and get appeal to the masses to be liked more, and their books could sell better if they weaken it down and water down the recommendations to make it more acceptable to the population of what people want to eat. And that's what all these people do. When I wrote the book Eat to Live, which was published in 2004, the publisher at that time, Little Brown, said, we can make you make millions of dollars more, and you could have the most best-selling book. It's such a great book. We can make this the best-selling book ever if you would weaken it and water it down and put some more oil in and put some more this in and make it more acceptable to people, not so radical. So I'm not looking to make it more acceptable to make more money. I don't want to sell out those people who want to get well and get rid of their diseases. So these people they're selling out the science to appeal to the masses more. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow. I've never heard anyone say it like that. It's a different type of relationship, right, with science. But one thing I want to ask is from Sing Earth. She's asking, you know, the next time you speak to Dr. Fuhrman, can you ask, what is a good drink replacement for Coca-Cola? And I think what you're saying is, if people are constantly trying to, you know, figure out what the most convenient way to get something down is, then you're constantly looking for replacements rather than for solutions.
What can I snort instead of cocaine?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry to be, to be sarcastic about it, but the point is that there's no substitute for taking in a toxic, dangerous chemical into your body. We're not looking for a substitute for that. And you really you need to eat food and drink water. You don't need other drinks. But in any case, if you wanted to drink something relatively healthy, you could drink green tea, but or a person could drink any kind of herbal tea. But I don't really think the need, I don't look at it that way. What do we replace Coca-Cola with? Eat food, and when you're thirsty, drink water. Stop putting liquid drinks in your mouth. You know, I don't see the need for that.
Yes. Okay.
I don't even drink liquids hardly.
Other than water, right.
Yeah, that was kind of a joke, but it's kind of have to be a little bit serious too, because it's like my diet is so high in water content and so high in salt and so low in salt that I don't even need, hardly even thirsty. When I'm running and playing tennis and climbing mountains, I don't have to drink as much as other people have to drink.
Right.
Because your body is not, it's not dehydrated all the time. You know.
And final question. This comes from Old Salot Cat. These are YouTube profiles here. So this person is saying, due to severe chronic pain problem, fibromyalgia, polymyalgia, lumbar disc degeneration, degenerative arthritis, she's been getting into a late night sleeping pattern. She'll be up to about 2 or 3 a.m. She has her G-bombs dinner at around 8 to 9, but doesn't get up for breakfast, and it generally is not hungry for lunch either. So while she has a 4-hour window from dinner to when she goes to bed, she wants to know if she's getting the full benefit of intermittent fasting. Does she need to change her daily eating schedule? In other words, is she eating too late in order to reap the benefits of the intermittent fasting sort of digestion series?
Well, it's good that she's at least giving 4 hours when she finished dinner to go to bed at night. But it would be healthier for her if she could go to bed, go to bed with go to bed when it's dark out. That's something to do with better health too. If she could shift her waking hours and stacking a little more calories earlier in the day and less later in the day might improve her health a little more. But most importantly than the timing is what she's eating is even more important, especially with pain syndromes. And we get people with fibromyalgia and those conditions well all the time by the nutrients in combination with the body work, with the muscle prep, with the type of massage where you're pressing on all the sore muscles and getting circulation back to the tissues. Sometimes we use electrical magnetic stim. Sometimes people are using extracorporeal shockwave therapy on their arthritic calcifications to break up the calcifications in their arthritis. But there's a lot of physical modalities in conjunction with the diet that when combined can get rid of people's pain syndromes. And that's what a lot of things we do here at the retreat. We're giving them like some physical care, but giving them with the diet and the weight loss and them flooding the body with nutrients at the same time as they're getting the physical treatments. And all of a sudden their pain goes away and their muscles work and they don't get the spasm in their muscles and the tight fibromyalgia and the sore spots and the arthritic pains go away. So we're not treating it only with nutrition. We might be treating the shoulder with some electromagnetic treatment or some corporal shockwave therapy at the same time as eating healthy, losing weight. Because just had a woman who had bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome. She couldn't feed herself or get dressed, told she needed bilateral surgery, wrist surgery. And she got, within 8 weeks, she was back. Beautiful, no surgery, everything was healed up.
Wow, Doc. I've got to say, over this past year and a half, it has been wonderful getting to speak with you, getting you to come and offer these insights to folks who are looking to be well and they want to live well. And folks, if that's you, go to myblackdiabetesmealplan.com. What's happening is for the next 30 days, anyone who comes on board is going to be getting Dr. Fuhrman's T20 plan as well for free, no additional charge. And so what we really want to do is make sure people are getting well and are eating the right things that can serve them rather than eating things that are going to take away their energy and take away their life force. And so, Dr. Fuhrman, I cannot thank you enough for offering this time. I cannot believe what kind of legacy you're building by just casually offering what's taken you 30 to 40 years to build up in knowledge to folks all over the world. And so thank you so much. And I'm wishing you and your family love, peace, and wellness. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you. Pleasure. Appreciate you.